month, one of our participants invited us to come down to the 17th Airborne Division meeting, reunion. And Charlie and I did it, and it was just fantastic. And we met a lady named Patty Barrett, who's right here. Patty said to me, at her first meeting she came here, she was just overcome by standing next to some World War II veterans as we gave the Pledge of Allegiance. That was a very nice thing for her to do. So Patty, if you would, please, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening? She's Irish.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Patty. Okay, as usual, we'll have some announcements. First and foremost, I'd like to welcome everybody. Welcome all of our World War II veterans. Please raise your hand. Amazing. We have a new one here, Mr. Bernard Gantz, sitting here in the chair. Normandy, 4th Infantry Division. And he's only 99, but he'll be turning 100 in a few weeks. So, welcome. Rich Burton, from the center. He's got something to talk about Vietnam.
Yeah, next Thursday, the Vietnam Roundtable meets. We meet at 8000 Dairy Street. And we start at 7:30. And next Thursday, Rick Hollis from Palmyra, he was in the Marine Corps. He was a parachute rigger. You know, who knew the Marines jumped, but oh well. So Rick's going, I'm not going any further there. And then next month in June, Bill Schaefer from West Hanover Township, he was with the 25th Division, both infantry and armored cav. He's going to talk. So I make better food than what is provided here. I make 4 tubs of brownies and beef cookies, juice, crackers. So if you want to get fed, come early and stick a brownie in each cheek.
Good evening. Don't fall over here. I represent the Hershey Civil Roundtable. We meet the 3rd Thursday of every month at Country Meadows. This will be the 18th. And this time, Mike Jasperger, he's going to be talking about the Huntley, what happened to Huntley and the recovery of Huntley, because he was also involved in bringing Huntley up. So, there you go.
Thank you. On May 20th at the Army Heritage Center, just down in Carlisle, they have an open house. They'll have reenactors and all sorts of ongoing goings-on, as we play it around. And it's free and it's open to the public, and it'd be a good thing to do. Okay? Our next meeting will be on June 1st. And please make your reservations for dinner if you plan to stay by the Friday of the week before that with Bev Barbie. Her name and number is on the flyer that we send out, or the email. And if you don't have a notice or an email, please sign up and get one right outside there. Or ask one of us to do it for you. Reminder that we do have a website, www.centralpaww2roundtable.org. It's long, but it's pretty simple if you just Google Central Pennsylvania World War II Roundtable. Most important things, especially for your first timers who may not know, we have what's called a helmet committee who will be happy to greet you as you exit this evening holding World War II steel pots. If you have a little free will offering, they'd be happy to accept it. Thank you in advance. Now, a few headlines from World War II. I like to say this is great, so what happened in May? Several things happened in various Mays of World War II. May 22, 1939, the Nazis signed, quote, a pact of steel with Italy, which was the beginning of the formation of the military axis with Japan to join shortly thereafter. That's 1939. And then May 10, 1940, the Nazis invaded France, Belgium, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands. And coincidentally, Winston Churchill becomes the British Prime Minister. On the 15th of May 1940, Holland surrendered. On May 26, 1940, the evacuation of Allied troops from Dunkirk begins. That was a long, long time. They were lucky to get out. Fortunately, the German tanks, for some reason, decided not to go forward. They were afraid they were going to get mired in the soggy ground, and it gave the Allies a chance to get out of Dunkirk. And on May 28th, Belgium surrendered to the Nazis. Skipping forward to 1942, in May, Japan captures the Philippines and Burma, having driven the U.S., aka MacArthur, who did return, and Great Britain out of the Philippines, out of Burma. Now, in 1943, in May, the Axis troops in North Africa surrendered. So a little turning of the screw for those guys. And then most famously on May 7th, at 2:41, 1945, German General Jodl signed the unconditional surrender that formally ended the war in Europe. Churchill was informed of this event at 7 a.m., but no public announcements had been made, so they couldn't do much, but large crowds had heard about it, and they gathered outside of Buckingham Palace saying, "We want the king, we want the king." So the British Home Office issued a circular instructing the nation on how they could celebrate once it was announced. They said, bonfires will be allowed, but the government trusts that only material with no salvage value will be used. So even by the afternoon, there's no notification, but the bell ringers have been put on standby all over Europe, all over England for a nationwide victory peal. Ironically, the Germans had been told that the war was over. But Joseph Stalin had differing views on how the end of the war should be treated and announced, so he caused a delay. But by early evening, Churchill announced that he was not going to give Stalin the satisfaction of holding up what everybody knew. So at 7:40 p.m., the Ministry of Information made a short announcement. In accordance with arrangements between the three great powers, tomorrow, Tuesday, will be treated as Victory in Europe Day and will be regarded as a holiday. And we, of course, know that as VE Day. Within minutes of this announcement, tens of thousands of people gathered on the streets of central London to celebrate. People gathered in Parliament Square, Trafalgar Square, Piccadilly Circus, and boats along the Thames sounded their horns in great celebration. They only ended when a thunderstorm and heavy rain drenched those still celebrating just before midnight. But on May 8th, Victory in Europe Day saw the celebrations continue. Great Britain went wild in joy. London was jammed with people as 50,000 people gathered between Trafalgar Square and Big Ben. 3 Lancaster bombers flew over London and dropped red and green flares. I wonder if Richard Boyd was driving one of those. No? Okay. So that was the best thing that ever happened in the month of May in World War II, the complete surrender and the celebration thereafter. I mean, poor Britain, after being battered to hell with bombings and all kinds of terrible things, the island nation finally was free, and I can understand why they would celebrate. So, congratulations. Okay, now, back to business. Our resident headhunter, Charlie Lloyd, will tell you about some present and upcoming activities. Won't you?
Attention, Kmart. It works. It works. You said 1945, May the 8th, and I thought I had a Lancaster bomber pilot here that day, but I didn't hear he was in a plane. What did you say, Richard? Where were you on 8 o'clock on that night?
I was on a train going from being transferred from Bomber Command to Transport Command, and I spent 18 months after VE Day transporting troops and equipment from England to Karachi, India.
You think they'd have given you a day off, don't you think? Thank you for your service.
But you weren't getting shot at.
A couple things. We're a month away from World War II weekend in Reading. Several of us are involved in that. If you haven't heard about it, there's 30,000 people show up, 50-some warbirds. You can fly in if you've got a couple grand. B-29s, B-51s, they have them all. Several of our people here will be participating. Richard will be there, he will be speaking as well. So June 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in Reading is the date. The day before that, June 1st, we have a speaker. His name is Guy Whidden. He's from Frederick, Maryland. Rather interesting fellow. He was airborne. He jumped 101st, and he jumped into Normandy. And I won't belabor his whole story, but he's quite a feisty individual. He's 95, and he'll be here to share his story with you. We also have some speakers beyond that, but lately we've had a lot of interruptions in our speaking, so I don't want to confuse people with that. The fellow who's going to speak tonight was unable to make it. He had some health issues. His name was Clem Leone, and three of us went down. Chris, are you here?
Right here.
Chris, you wrote the interview for him, and that was amazing. And Bob here, from Bob Noya. So we went down to Gettysburg, and we thought, well, this would be an interesting interview. We get here and out in no time at all. This guy was 95 years old, and we were there for 2.5 hours. Very interesting. He's the one that his plane was shot up. He was in the Liberator, went out the top. The plane blew up, and he woke up at 15,000 feet in the free fall and pulled the chute and went down to see people with guns waiting for him. But they were resistance. So we have a lot of interesting people lined up. By the way, I spoke to Clem this afternoon. He thanked us for our concern. He says, I'm fine, I just have to stay on oxygen. But he would like to get up to see us in the future. So now you're in charge of speakers. You have to get somebody. What do you do? Well, I made a couple phone calls, and he said, you got a treasure right under your nose, and you don't know it. His name is Art Lentz. He's in York, and he has quite a story. And I'm not going to sneak into that, except that he did see Will Chamberlain shoot that ball in Hershey Park. And I think he could have done it too if he was there. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Art Lentz from York, Pennsylvania.
Maybe yes. Boy, I'm glad to see so many World War II. That's unusual at this time of day. How many do we have here anyway? Put their hands up again. First of all, I'd like to thank Charlie for interviewing me and giving me the opportunity to speak, and also the Grace United Methodist Church. I was born in 1926. That's pretty long ago, isn't it? And I'll be 91 next month. And I'm trying to remember all these things I want to tell you. In my childhood, 6 years old, I rode the bus to school, and many people always came to me and said they didn't have no buses in 1932. I said, well, I went to Shallow School, which was a 4-room schoolhouse, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. And after that, when I was 9, I went on the farm from 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Believe it or not, my first year when I was 9, I got 25 cents a week. 25 cents. You couldn't spend no money anywhere. I'm sure you guys know that, some of them. But as I progressed, I went from 25 to 50 to 75 to $1. And in 1915, I was getting $1.75. And I had to milk 7 cows in the morning, 7 cows at night, and when you went to bed, you couldn't wait to get up in the morning, if you know what that means. Anyhow, after that, I grew, when I was 15, I grew 12 inches. And my feet went from 9 to 11. And my body went for no clothes would fit. I was 12 inches, so my mother had to take me to the haberdasher, which was Walker's clothing store, to get me all new stuff. And I played basketball in high school in 1942 and 43. We won the championship of the PIAA, and we played Swatara Township over here, and we lost 40 to 38. And that was, then out of high school, I got my, notice that I was supposed to report to the Army. I was 18 on the 27th of June. The 25th of August, I was in the Army. And January the 19th, I was fighting the Germans in Aachen. Can you believe that? That's really fast. Anyhow, between that, when we first took basic training, we went to Camp Landing, Florida. We had supposed to get 15 weeks, we got 13. They put us on the train and sent us home for 5 days. We reported back to Fort Dix, New Jersey on January the 2nd, and it took us 9 days to go across the Atlantic Ocean because the German U-boats were out there everywhere. If anybody in World War II remembers that, they'll know that. But there was 15,000 soldiers on that ship, the Queen Elizabeth. We docked at Liverpool, England. They put us on a train and sent us to Northampton. In Northampton, we got on a Scottish freighter and went 23 miles across the English Channel to Le Havre. There I met my buddies. The first thing my buddy told me when we went into combat, he said, stow everything away and keep your M1 and 1K ration. So that's what we did. And we got into Aachen and we were surrounded by the Germans, but anyhow we got out of it. We did pretty good. Then we went to Dusseldorf. Okay, thank you. This is my granddaughter here. She thinks I need a drink of water. I'm okay. Okay. After we went to Dusseldorf, I was 3 days in the Battle of the Bulge. And that was January the 19th, 20th, and 21st, or something like that. I can't really remember the last 3 days. But we ended up in Belgium, Brussels. And from there on, we went north. And after a while, March 25th, we crossed the Rhine River, where Montgomery was on our left, and we were on the right, and we were attached to the 9th Army. If anybody remembers the 9th Army, well, we were in it. So we went across the channel in LSTs, and there was about 12 soldiers in each one of those ships, and I thought, sure as hell, it's going to sink, because the water was here, and you were here. Boy, but we made it across. And then April 3rd, I got shot by a German sniper across the face. And what a revelation. I could go back to, we went back to Bar-le-Duc, France, which was a hospital for all the wounded veterans. And then after that, I was in the hospital there on April 12th. Our beloved President Roosevelt died. And Harry S. Truman took over. And he was one of my staunchest presidents that you'll ever have, because he saved, I'd say, millions of lives by just dropping those 2 bombs in Nagasaki and Hiroshima. And right after that, we got on a ship in Le Havre, the USS General Black, and we were 3 days out in the Atlantic Ocean, and the
Japanese surrendered. What a break. There we were headed back to Fort Dix to go to Fort Ord, California to go to the Japanese theater of operation. How am I doing? Okay? I'm not boring you, am I? Okay. But we were in the Mid-Atlantic Ocean, and they changed our orders. We went to Camp Miles Stanley's in Boston. And from there, they sent us home for 30 days, and when I was home, I got 15 more. So then I had to report back to Fort Sumter, South Carolina, which was the home of the 119th, 30th Division. Anybody in the 30th Division here? Anybody in that at all? It's like it's on my jacket there. It's like a football thing with a goalpost in it. And it was the blue and red. Okay. Would you believe that after I got discharged, I worked 20 years at H.M. Ray Myers in York, which was a store like Silver Roebuck's, Montgomery Ward, and all those big stores. And then I worked 8 years at York College. And then I owned a bowling alley in York. It was called Central Range for 10 years. And in those 10 years, when we were finished, the government, the York County guys wanted to start a boat basin. If you ever heard of a boat basin, what a tragic that was. Anyhow, they condemned all the properties in our area there and made everybody sell. Well, after that, I met my wife in 1948 when I was playing basketball for the York Pros at York in the Eastern Professional Basketball League. And I played there 49, 50, 51, 52, and 2 years in Pottsville. And I knew Whitey Bonita. If anybody here from Lancaster ever heard of Whitey Bonita, he played with the Chicago Bulls, and then he went to the Baltimore Bullets. And they called me up one day in 1948 and offered me $600 to play down there a month. With the money that those guys get today, just think about what $600 would be. That's really terrible, isn't it? Well, I played 20 years of baseball in the York County. I played softball until I was 60 years old, and my wife marvels at me because I hit a home run when I was 60, and then I quit. In my family, my wife and I started out with 2. We had 5 children, and we had 12 grandchildren, 17 great-great-grandkids, and 1 great-grandson. So we have 47. Just think if I would have got shot a little higher, I wouldn't be around. And there would be no 47 kids. My son Mike and my daughter Jane and my granddaughter sitting there. I don't know what else. I saw Rummel wave those guys. Remember where they were in the mud hole over there? Somehow or other I saw that happen. I can't believe it, but I did. He would make the half tracks go this way and make the other tanks go this way. He was really some man. Okay, I can't tell you anymore. I'll take any questions or anything that I can.
I want a little story about the Battle of the Bulge. Let me find that.
The Battle of the Bulge, I was only in that the last 3 days. And I ended up in Brussels there at that bridge. And it was all over then, the Battle of the Bulge. That was. Then from there on, we went into the Ardennes Forest, which was, I had 3 campaigns in the Ardennes Forest. But that Ardennes Forest, that was, believe it or not, in Germany, most of the forest and all the places were cleaned underneath. They didn't have the debris that you see around here with all the downed trees and everything. It was just so clean. I mean, couldn't believe that. The Germans were some kind of people. There was the Wehrmachts were the low class, and the SS was the top class. The Wehrmachts would throw their rifles away, and the SS would shoot you, which wasn't right. That's the way it was. Okay,
Forest, do you think?
We were there till about, let's see, that would be in February and March. So we didn't cross the Rhine River until March the 25th. And Montgomery was on our left, which was the British, and we were on the right. And we were in a little town called Julie. And we went across there in those LSTs. And then when I got to Orlinghausen, they got shot and went back to the hospital. So then I didn't have to worry about that. But I found my unit. It was in Magdeburg, Germany, on the Elbe River. Think of the Elbe River as a Susquehanna. Only ships could go through it, the Elbe River. There wasn't a ship to go anywhere in the Susquehanna. Yeah, a lot of difference. Okay.
Did you see the sniper that shot you?
I didn't, but they did. They blew him out with a tank 75. So I was told.
What recollections of I guess of combat come back to you the most?
In Aachen, Germany, when we were surrounded, it just so happened my buddy and I, Sidney Lee, he was from Philadelphia, we were down below here, and up here was another road, and the Germans would go across up there, and we were down here, we just hid down there, so that they wouldn't shoot us. Combat is something, if you've never been in combat, you never want to be there.
That's for sure.
Believe it or not. It's like I always said, a license to kill. And I've seen lots of guys get shot. I've seen a guy take a BAR, or not a BAR, but one of those 25 automatic things and just shoot 25 Germans. How would you like that? That's terrible. I mean, you see a lot of things that you don't want to tell, you don't want to, it's not something that you want to say, that's all. By the way, when I played basketball, I have a book down here from 1948 to 1951. 48, I led the Eastern League in scoring. 49, I come in second by 1 point. And 50, Bill Zubik from Lancaster beat everybody by 100 points. If you know anything about basketball. Okay?
Yeah. We've had several speakers who were in the Bulge and in the Ardennes Forest, but they never talked about the living conditions in the Ardennes Forest. How were you fed? How did you get supplies? Did you have latrines? I mean, it was a miserable time. It was very, very cold.
The answer is exactly 0.
Say again?
3 days in a row we went without eating or sleeping or anything when we went through the Ardennes, because the Germans were really retreating real hard at that point, and nobody ever brought anything up to us because we were going too fast. The U.S. was going so fast that the Germans were going back so fast that the war was really coming to an end, like May the 6th. We were on the Elbe River in Magdeburg, Germany, my unit, and the Russians were on the left side and we were on the right side, which was 50 miles from Berlin, and they wouldn't allow us to go any farther because they wanted Stalin to take Berlin. Churchill and Roosevelt, they decided that the Russians will take Berlin and the Americans will stay where they are. And that's when they built the wall, right? Am I right in that? They built that wall in Germany to separate the east from the west. Yeah. I had a full life, people, I'll tell you. I'm saying I'll be 91 and I can't believe it, I'm still here. And I got my son yesterday was just operated on it down at the Pinnacle in Harrisburg. He got a new valve in his heart, and he's 66 years old, and they cut him 12 inches here across here, so I guess they could get that pig valve in there to get that up in there. But he's doing pretty good.
So, there are other questions. Sorry to hog the mic, but inquiring minds need to know. Where were you? Here.
Sir, can you relate a little bit about your experiences as a runner?
My experiences as a runner.
In the military.
Yeah, well, that's how I got the 2 silver stars, or 2 bronze stars and a Purple Heart. That's how I got those. My captain picked me out, how I ever know, he picked me out of that whole unit to be his company runner. But the first time I got the first bronze star, one of our platoons, the radio was knocked out, and so we had to take a radio up there. So my captain said to me, he said, "Here, Art, take this up there." And that's what I did. And the second one, I was shot by a German sniper, but I was carrying ammo across the street. Three of us volunteered. Believe it or not, we volunteered. He picked us out, 3 of us, and told us to go. So we took M1, machine gun, bazooka, and hand grenade. That's what we had to do. So all 3 of us were loaded down with all this ammo, and we went across the street one at a time, and I was the third one go across, and he must have got his aim right because he hit me.
When you
That
were
was
hit,
in a little town called Orenhausen, Germany. It was April the 3rd, 1945.
but you were able to continue the delivery.
Yeah, oh
of
my
radio.
gosh, yes, if I'd have stopped, I knew I'd be dead. Yeah,
Yeah,
I could still go, but the blood just flew straight out.
yeah.
If you were ever shot with anything, any kind of a weapon, you know how you bleed.
Yeah.
You really bleed.
I know that.
Yeah.
There was a question in here somewhere? Yeah, pass that down, please.
No, guy in green.
Oh, sorry, down here. Oh, you asked your question. All right, who else wants to ask this question? Bill?
Art, I think you mentioned you were in George.
Where?
George, the town of George.
No, Dusseldorf, Aachen.
Okay, when you were in Aachen, did you run into any of the guys from the 1st Infantry Division?
The only 2 guys I had was me and my buddy, and we were down there underneath there. We were just trying to hide. Because we were surrounded by the Germans in that town, if you remember. If you go back and you read anything about that, that was one of the towns that was surrounded until they broke through, and then the next town was Dusseldorf.
Right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Would you say again how long it was from the time you joined the Army to the point where you were actually fighting?
Yeah, I joined the Army on the 25th of August. We were fighting the Germans on January the 19th.
Thank you.
See, the Battle of the Bulge was all during that time. The reason that we were inducted so fast was because of D-Day. If you everybody remembers D-Day, we lost 60,000 troops in D-Day, and they all had to be replaced. So they got all us 18-year-old kids that were all just out of high school and shipped us over. That's the way it was. Rough.
Would you say that most of the people you were in the Army with while you were in combat were all your age, all young people?
Well, the ones that when I went in, we were all 18 years old. We were all just out of high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we went to Harrisburg to be. They said, "Well, didn't you go to Indiantown Gap?" I said, "No." I said, "Didn't you go to New Cumberland?" "No." I said, "We went to Harrisburg, and from Harrisburg they sent us to Indiantown Gap. And Indiantown Gap they sent us to Camp Landing, Florida. It took us 3 days by train to get to Camp Landing, Florida. And there you're supposed to have 15 weeks of basic training. Well, we had 13, and they called us off and put us on a ship on January 2nd and shipped us over. I don't know if anybody was on that ship with me, were they? Not many people here are 91 years old. I envy that man there, Mr. Gans there, he's 100, well, be 100 years years old. Mike, what's it feel like to be 100, Mr. Dan? He got his electric mobile unit there that he drives around. That's good. Okay. Okay.
You mentioned earlier that you remembered when Franklin Roosevelt died, and I've heard other veterans talk about how they remember exactly where they were and what they were doing when they heard that news, and I was just wondering if you have any thoughts on that.
Yes, I didn't believe that, sir. He died on April the 12th down there in Florida, and they announced that at the hospital at Morley Duke, and nobody would believe him. Because, like the Stars and Stripes I got right there, laying up there, it's wore out, you could hardly, if you pick it up, it might fall apart, but it's 71 or 72 years old. But anyhow, Roosevelt, nobody believed that he died. That's when Harry Truman took over. You know, when he was our president. And then, can you believe that? Harry Truman ran the next time, and they thought that Dewey had him all beaten. He beat down. He was a haberdasher from Missouri. He's the only president in the United States that didn't go to college. Did you know that? How many people knew that? He was a haberdasher guy, and him and Bess, they had one daughter.
Sir, I have another question, but before I ask it, you made a comment about Harry Truman saving so many lives with dropping the bomb. I'm glad to hear you say that, because there's too many people who want to rewrite history and make out America as such an evil country for dropping the bomb, but in fact he did save many thousands of lives, not only American and allies, but Japanese. The other question I had was, what was it like going across the Atlantic in the Queen Mary? You said 15,000 troops on that vessel.
Queen Elizabeth.
Queen Elizabeth, too. Or Queen Elizabeth.
The same word was bigger.
Okay, well, that's a pretty small vessel for 15,000 troops. Can you give us a little idea of what it was like being crammed into all that?
I'll tell you what, sir, I was so damn seasick from going up and down like this that I never would have lasted in the Navy. And the first thing I ate was 6 days out. I ate baked beans and hot dogs that I didn't have to throw up in that little thing there at the end of the. If you're anybody on the ship, you know how you would eat there and come down and put the stuff in the tray. First thing I kept down was beans and hot dogs. After that, I was okay. And coming back, I didn't get sick at all because it was such a small boat. The USS General Black was half as big as what the Queen Elizabeth was.
Do you attend reunions or have any friends or acquaintances from your military days?
No, I don't, sir. Tell you what happened to us was we came back from overseas and they sent us down to Fort Sumter, South Carolina, and they wanted to put us on KP and patrol and all that kind of stuff, and none of us would report. So what they did to us is they shipped us out to all over the country. And I ended up in Fort Knox, Kentucky. And in Fort Knox, Kentucky, I worked in the separation center to help GIs that didn't have 85 or 75 or 65 points to get discharged. And you'd be surprised how stupid they were. They didn't know how to fill out a form. Mm-hmm. It's crazy, but you know, when you do things like that. I used to play music, Tommy Dorsey and all that other kind of stuff for him. But then in Fort Knox, Kentucky, I got to try out for the basketball team. Since I was 6'5", I had no trouble making the team, and I played with Fort Knox, Kentucky in January, well, from the time I was there when the basketball season was. And believe it or not, we played against the University of Kentucky when Dolph Shays was still the coach. We played University of Louisville we played against. The University of Cincinnati we played against. We played against the Chicago Stags, which was a pro team in the before the NBA. The NBA never started until 1946. I don't know how many people you know that. But 1946 is when they organized the NBA. That was the first year. Anyhow, I did very well there. That was fun. We even had our own plane. We flew out of Gotham Field. Anybody ever been to Fort Knox?
Yes.
Oh boy. Well, they wouldn't allow you to even get close to the goal. You couldn't even get close to that, but you could get, they had an airport there. It was called Gotham Field. And you could fly airplanes out of there. And that's what we had our own plane, we had our own bus. We did pretty good. I had a good life, sir. I had a good life, I think. And I hope my kids appreciate it.
Why wouldn't they?
Well, you never know.
Tell us a little bit about the officers and the NCOs that you had. Were they good officers?
Yes, they were. You know, the Germans would wait, like I was a company runner, like I was a scout, like an Indian scout. You know, you go out in front of everybody by yourself. And whenever you went out there like that, the Germans were so smart that they let you go. They never shot you, but they shoot the lieutenants and the other people in back of you. That's crazy saying that, but that's what happened. I've seen that happen already. Yep.
And were they much older than you? Were they senior people?
Oh, they were all older than me. I was only 18.
Yeah.
Heck, shit. I got discharged in February the 8th. Oh, here, I gotta tell you this. February the 8th, I got discharged from Fort Knox, Kentucky. They give me $122 severance pay to come back to York, Pennsylvania. York, Pennsylvania, a cab driver up there said, "Where are you going, son?" I said, "I'm trying to go to York." He said, "Get in, I'll take you down." And he did it free. A guy from Harrisburg. He did that free for me. When I got home, my dad and I went to one of the other dealers, and we signed up for a new car. Cars were not manufactured from 1942, 43, 44, and 45, and the first car they ever made was in 1946. And I got a Chevrolet Stylemaster with a radio and heater were the accessories. And they had 16-inch wheels. Look, we got 13, 15 now. And the cost of the car was $1,436.90. And because I had enough money that I sent, we never got paid when we were in the service, when we were overseas. One time I believe we got a pay, but I sent all my money home and my mother put it in war bonds. It was $25 war bonds. So we cashed them all in and paid for the car. That was how I got a new car. And I met my wife in 1948. She's a graduate of University of Pennsylvania. She was an RN. She worked with the brain specialist who was named Dr. Grant. And in 1949 we got married. And on our honeymoon we went to see the Red Sox play, my favorite team. We were in Boston. We saw the first game, and we were headed for Atlantic City, and we went down Kingston Drive and heard the Red Sox were at home again, so we went to see another game. And ladies, you can believe this or not, ladies, believe it, I had $126. That's all the money I had. And we left, we were gone 10 days. And I still had money when I got home. It just seemed like everywhere we went, we stayed in Atlantic City in the best hotel places, and it cost us $10. And then up in Northumberland, Massachusetts, we stayed in a little place that only cost us $6. And gas was what, 48 cents a gallon or something like that. I can't remember how much gas was then. But I had this brand new car, and we did okay.
Anybody else?
I hope I didn't bore you.
No. You didn't see anybody fall asleep or leave you, did you?
I got to thank Charlie Lloyd to get through. He came down there and called me on the phone 3 times.
just have a quick question. I don't know too many 18-year-olds today that know much about world history, and you were all just plucked out of high school on the train, you said, for 3 days down to basic training. Did you know anything about what was going on the war, or what you were going to face when you got there?
Well, if you remember in 1941, you know, the Japanese declared war on the United States. That was 1941. And when we got into war, well, think of 41, I was only like, what was I, 14 years old. And I can't say that I remember much about that. I remember President Roosevelt on the radio announcing that we declared war in Japan. I can remember that. We had a little RCA radio. What you got to remember about 1920s and the 30s, there weren't no TVs. There weren't no people. In New York County alone, there was only 54,000 people lived back there in the 1950s. And it's not like it is now. Everything is so darn populated. There's millions and millions and millions of people that they're just everywhere. When you think about it a little bit.
But in your schooling, did you have any idea of where Germany was and Belgium and you know, all over Europe? Did you know where you were going when you went there?
Well, I didn't know where we were going, but I know in history class, all we ever talked about was the Civil War.
Yeah.
That'd be the only thing they ever talked about in history class.
Go in here.
Just a quick question. So, how would you describe your readjustment to civilian life after the war?
After the war,
Yeah.
I was very, very fortunate. I had a job that I could go to, and I could play ball. And when I played with the Eastern Pro League, would you believe, 1948, I got $25 a game. And if you worked the whole week, you were lucky to make $25 back in 1948. And in 1949 and 50, I got $35 a game. And I bought a house with that. And had 5 kids.
But in relationship to today, how was your psychological adjustment from going from warfare to peacetime and business as usual? What was the...
Real easy for me.
Was it?
Because everybody was asking me to play ball for them. Well, I played sandlot baseball, would you believe it or not? And I played in the York County Twilight League, and I got $8 a game to play shortstop. $8. But I played with Spry before that, and Mr. Fitzke, who has a candy store in Spry, if you hit a home run, he'd give you $5. If you were the winning pitcher, he'd give you $5. If you scored the winning run, you got $5. And he was a candy maker in Spry, which is between Dallastown and New York.
I wonder, when you landed in France, and you went up to the Battle of the Bulge, I wonder if you could describe that trip up there to your unit that you fought with.
Well, we were in Le Havre, France, and we had to walk across the Siegfried Line, which is the dividing place between Germany and France. If you ever saw that on TV, they have little pyramids like this, and they have about 4 rows of them, and you had to walk across there, and I was only 3 days in the Battle of the Bulge, and the Germans were really running scared, you know, to the west. I had no trouble. I was in the infantry division, and I wasn't a 675 runner. I carried M1, and after I got rid of my M1, I had a carbine which had 17 rounds and a 45. That's what I had to carry, so I could run faster.
Art, I have a question for you. You're playing basketball, they're paying you $35 a game. You could play 3 days a week. That's $105 a week. And you were working. Now, how much did you make when you worked?
Well, I got $1 an hour where I worked and made $40. So that was that's $145
Instead of $40, instead of $40, you got $135, $175. You were smart to play basketball. I'm sorry. Over here.
Smart.
What were your basic training days like?
My basic training in Florida, if you were ever in Florida, it's so damn hot in the daytime and it's so damn cold at night. If you lived in a house or something like that, you had to cover up to go to bed at night because I froze my butt off. And out there in those little huts that they had, you know, they had a barracks where 3 on this side and 3 on that side, 6 in one thing. And you get up at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning and go up to the parade ground and go up and down there to warm up. And then after you warmed up, then the sun came out and it made you sweat. I never liked Florida. I like York County, I like Pennsylvania. The best place you ever want to live is the United States.
Another question, good. Let's not let him go home early, okay? That's more questions.
Yes, Mr. Lentz, when you went overseas, did you go over with the 30th Division, or were you a replacement?
No. You went across the whole unit on our ship was all replacements. And whenever you got to wherever you were going, which was called an APO, you know what that is, then they would divert you to where they needed you. And we just happened to I ended up with the 119th 30th Division.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
What other units do you recall being in the Ardennes Forest with you? We've heard a lot about the 101st Airborne and others. Did you have interaction with other units in the Ardennes Forest?
Not really, we didn't, no. They would attach it to like the 1st Army, the 2nd Army, the 3rd Army, and they do the same thing with the tanks and stuff. The 1st Army would go with this group, 2nd would go with this group, and that's the way they did it. I don't know who devised that plan to do it that way, but it worked. Because we beat the Germans.
Yeah. A few of us have been there on trips going back to World War II and whatnot, and it never impressed me that the Ardennes Forest was all that big.
Oh my God.
And it must have been.
Yeah, that was really, it was in like central Germany. It was, if Brussels was here, and you left Brussels, the Ardennes Forest was straight out there, and it went almost to Berlin.
A lot of farmland there now.
Yeah.
Have you been back to any of your...
No, I never was back. I never want to leave York County.
Well, you did, you're here.
Well, that's different.
Sounds like you had quite a whirlwind fighting, but I just read an article recently about how they were trying to discourage the soldiers from fraternizing. Did you have occasion to meet any German Fräuleins, or did you avoid that like the plague?
During the war, I never saw any German civilians. After the war, when we pulled occupation, what they called it, they would take a unit and put it in a little town where they had a burgomaster, which was the mayor like us, and he had the only one that had the car. And that car was run by charcoal. They had to put that stuff in the back. The Germans were so far behind us, me being a farm boy, that I plowed with 3 horses in a plow. Over there, they had the lady lead the horse with 1 plow. I could not believe what I saw lots of times. And this one time I shot a deer. The first deer I ever shot, never shot any more after that. But I took it downtown and we had venison, all of us. We took it to the butcher and we all ate this deer. But it was really something. You can imagine an 18-year-old kid who was green to the gills. What that meant. That was really something. I don't know how many of you guys were 18 years old when you went in the service. Now, in the Navy, you could go when you were 17. You could enlist in the Navy when you were 17, get out of school. And that's why when I went to school at A.H. Martin in West York, we had 250 kids. 250. And during the war years, I think it was down to almost 100 because there were no boys at school.
Was there beer available? In the occupation, was there beer and wine available to you?
In occupation, yeah, they had that German black beer. You ever drink that black beer? I never drank a beer, I never tasted a beer because I was 18 and I wanted to be an athlete, and so I didn't smoke or drink. And as far as women are concerned, I never had a girlfriend until I got out of high school.
All right.
And that's what you got to do if you want to be something. If you make up your mind that you want to be something, you've got to give up a lot.
You got a lot of making up to do. Oh, sorry.
I have a good wife. She was an RN. She took care of my 5 children. I did all the work and made all the money. I worked from morning till dusk. I would work at my job and work 8 hours, and then I would drive a little truck, or I would referee basketball or something like that. I was the best referee from 1960 to 1975 in the PIAA, which is in Harrisburg. And we got $12 a game for varsity. Now, would you believe they got 3 referees on 1 game for high school, and they get $69, and we're going to get a raise. 3 of them. Now you can understand why schools go broke. Look how much they have to pay all those referees. Well, they play JV, they play. Look at that, how the referees, how much they have to pay just out in that. And then you have a superintendent who gets like $600,000. Figure that one out, the president gets $400. You figure that one out now, and I don't understand.
The 30th Infantry Division saw some very heavy fighting during the Bulge. Were there a lot of other replacements with you, or were you just maybe one and maybe a couple others in your squad or platoon or company?
Well, see, in the platoon you had 3 platoons and a small weapons like machine gun, bazooka, and that kind of stuff. But you had three in the platoon. There was 3 of them, and that was the 4th one. And hey, the 7th and 8th Air Force out of New England killed more Americans than they did Germans, because they would strife St. Lo, St. Fifth, where those canals were, if you remember that. I don't know if you do or not. But they would come down, and it would be so foggy and everything, they'd just shoot all their ammo and go back to England. So they killed plenty of us.
And they took a beating too.
And there was no Luftwaffe, because most of those they had shot down, when the 102nd Airborne was in there, in around there where the Ardennes was. I can remember the airplanes, they just shot them right down. And they would shoot the guys with parachutes. Obviously, you see that on TV. I saw that on TV one time, and that was no lie. That's the way they did it. They'd just sit down there and pick you right off. I had an uncle who was in the 102nd Airborne. 101st Airborne, yeah. I had an uncle who was in that. He came back all right.
Yeah, that's why they dropped them from very low altitude. They didn't want a lot of hang time.
They always flew at a low altitude, so they couldn't be picked off if they got up there a little bit. And all the Zach guns would pick them right off.
All right. Anybody else? If not, I can't tell you how much we enjoyed the talk.
Hey, thank you very much, man. That was really something. I used to, like when I played basketball, I played in, thousands, in front of thousands of people. And it didn't bother me.
Well, now, we are lavish in our praise and in our reward. For you, we have this evening
Thank you.
a very, very, very highly sought after item.
You got to remember, I'm 6'5". When do I get up? Mr. Gibson here, he's about 6'5". Almost. We look almost each other in the eyes.
Mug,
Oh boy.
which could hold some other flavor enjoyed it.
Oh my God, my God.
We hope you do.
Hey. Thank you. I have a mug that has my son's name on it, Cobb, Shell, and Lentz. Now I can put that away and use this one. Okay, thank you.
Now, I'm sure he would like to invite you to come down and see his memorabilia here. Will you talk about it when they come?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay.
Sure. I got a big mouth. I have a lot to say, and sometimes it don't make sense. So I'm okay. I'm still there. I want to show you this. Look at this, people. Remember the Eisenhower jacket? Yeah. Well, I can still get in it, but I can't get it to go in there. And my hat, my parade hat, I can't even get it on my head.